week's webcast of your program, which is called the Business Insights. Thank you so much once again, and I encourage you to continue to subscribe to the channel and be able to ensure that you follow all the proceedings as they come. I want also to continue to encourage you and employ you to continue providing me with the feedback that is required in order for us to really be able to know whether the content that is coming to your screens is helping you, or there is a way in which we can be able to improve or adjust as well. Thank you so much, and I'm very much grateful and excited. This week I want to speak on one of the most hot issue that has been going around, and I think all of us have been affected in one way or the other. When the United States of America new administration gave a directive to freeze funding for 90 days across the world, I think the impact has never been realized, and it's something probably that was not foreseen. But now, because we are in this particular situation, I've been avoiding to talk about this issue, but also coming from the organization, from the NGO, from the non-profit organization point of view, I thought it is very important that I address some of the things that probably would be able to help us as project managers to begin to realign our priorities, to begin to realign and to change our perception and how we look at things. So I'm speaking on the title that I have entitled Navigating Through USAID Funding Freeze as a Project Manager. So as a project manager, how can you navigate through this USAID funding freeze, as it were? It is here with us, and it is happening. Okay, so first of all, my sincere apologies. You need to understand that for you as a project manager, for you and me as project managers, to navigate through this particular USAID fund freeze, it requires a mix of strategies. Okay, it requires a mix of different strategies, and when I talk about a mix of different strategies, I'll highlight some things to do with financial management issues. It also looks at how you manage your stakeholders. It also looks at how you adapt your project planning as well, and this is the focus that I am going to be actually looking at. So number one, under navigating through these fund freezes, is what I call the financial and budgetary adjustment. The minute the announcement was made, we saw a lot of companies, a lot of NGOs laying off people, probably facing very high uncertainties and all those issues. What were they trying to cure by laying off people? What they were just trying to cure is to ensure that they actually do not commit further into their financial obligations and other things. So they were trying actually to ease the pressure on the finance and budgetary adjustments, and budgetary issues of the organization. So financial and budgetary adjustments becomes very key, and one of the most important, the first thing I think, ensuring that we navigate through the fund freezing. So here we are talking about issues of now prioritizing essential services. All right, when we are doing the budgets, of course, we would have done the whole entire budget for different things and everything, but at this particular time we need to sit down as project managers, go back on the drawing board and identify critical projects or components that must continue, and allocate resources accordingly. So those things that are not essential, as it were, probably can come in later, but you prioritize essential tasks that with the little funds that you have, and therefore it means that certain areas will definitely be able to suffer. Then reallocate funds as well. So you find that because of the scarcity of this particular fund that we are managing, we may need to begin to shift budget lines within allowable limits to cover high impact activities, and that is actually one of the most important things in ensuring that financial and budgetary adjustments are done. Then also we need to look at cost cutting measures, and under cost cutting measures, what we're saying is reduce on non-essential expenses. You need to reduce on things like travel, trainings, consultancy fees, and all those issues. Those things that you deem to be non-essential, definitely definitely they have to be reduced, and ensure that you cut your cost, and you ensure that as you cut your cost, you have enough money best that can be channeled to other things. Then the other thing is also you need to begin to look at seeking bridge funding. So how do you seek for this particular bridge funding? Basically what you're just doing is exploring alternative short-term funding sources that will be able to cover up the gap that has actually been necessitated, such as private sector donors, local government grants, and also corporate partnerships. So you begin to look at that under the financial and budgetary adjustments. So you need to prioritize your essential activities, reallocate funds. Cost cutting measures must be implemented, and seek bridge funding if possible to help you navigate through the USAID fund freeze. The other thing is very important is stakeholder engagement and communication. Remember, engaging the USAID representatives, of course, this has become very, very tricky, because even the people that you're supposed to be engaging may not be able to be there. But of course, there are some directions that have been given. There are some that have been ongoing in terms of updates and giving these. So you need to ensure that you seek clarification on the fund, so that you know your limits, you know what you can be able to do, expected durations, and any other possible exemptions that may occur. We have seen some exemptions that have come through. So basically you need to ensure that you continue to engage the funders like the USAID and all the USAID representatives, or even the federal government, as it were, for you to be able to appreciate what they are trying to do, and how you can be able to be part and parcel in terms of so that you are not left behind, and make commitments that may actually be able to bring bring a lot of risk on your organization. So again, the other issue is you need to keep internal and external holders informed. Now, you need to ensure that you are proactive in terms of communicating with your partners. These are the internal partners and external partners, beneficiaries and team members, to manage their expectations. You have a situation where there's a lot of noise going around, and people are saying, okay, the fund has been cut, and all those issues. Suppliers begin to have negative perceptions in terms of supplying your organization. The employees that you have begin to have fears of losing their jobs, and all those issues. Even the morale actually gets low, and all those issues. So you need to ensure that you keep both internal and external holders well informed and well communicated to proactively. Then advocate, through network. You need to also advocate through networks as well. So you need to ensure that you collaborate with other USAID funded projects to lobby for solutions and share insights. Just like what is happening in the United States of America, you find that actually the union have come together, and they are actually trying to lobby government to say, okay, fine, look at the impact this is going to bring. So, but for you as a project manager, probably you may not have that direct link, but you can actually collaboratively with other partners, other USAID funded projects, be able to begin to lobby for something that is of good cause, and ensure that you concentrate on sustaining your projects, as it were. All right, then the other thing is contract and procurement adjustments. Coming from the procurement background, you might have contracts that have already been signed. Maybe they are long term, maybe they are 1 year or something like that, and everything. So you need to begin to renegotiate these particular contracts to fit what is happening at that particular period. Engage suppliers and service providers actually, and to ensure that you provide for extended payment terms or temporary cost reductions, as it were, so that you can easily be able to manage your funds well. And then you also pause or scale down your procurements, and this we have seen it happen, where we have actually been able to say, okay, fine, we can be able to delay on non-essential purchases while waiting for funding restoration, as it were. In that way, we are mitigating major risks that may come with this particular stoppage, as it were. Then we need to also look at local sourcing options. So in order for us to navigate through this, we may, if we have been procuring outside the country and all those issues, probably we may want to explore more cost-effective procurements in country by actually identifying alternatives for goods and services locally. That way we could be able to ensure that we navigate through this particular period nicely and adequately. Then programmatic adaptations. So under the people that are in the programs, you need to ensure that you modify your project timelines, adjust, deliverables and milestones to align with the available resources. Remember, your resource base has shrinked, and basically you have to carry certain critical projects. So you need to begin to modify your project timelines. You need to look at, adjusting your deliverables and, milestones and all those issues so that you align them with the current available resources, as it were. Then also you need to leverage on existing resources, by probably ensuring that you do away with the external consultants, other costs that may be, for example, if we're talking about training, you want to outsource the training, you can actually now begin to utilize the in-house expertise. You can begin to look at community volunteers. You can look at looking at public-private partnerships, as it were, to sustain the activities that you're actually conducting as an organization. Very, very important. And also, under programmatic adaptation, very key issue is what I call the strengthening of local ownership. Okay, strengthening of local ownership. Of course, CDC, the USAID, and everything, they had already started implementing a policy where they were saying all these particular projects must be run by local NGOs because we need to build capacity. And thank God for that, because it's like they knew that what was coming, and it helps a lot. So empower local implementation partners to take on responsibility with minimal external funding. All right, so the local ownership, how do we mobilize resources locally? How do we mobilize ourselves locally to ensure that we build a resilient, resilient projects, as it were? We can do it, and it can be done. All right, then lastly but not the least is what I want to speak to is what I call the risk management and contingency planning as well. So this calls for developing of a risk mitigation plan. All right, identify the potential worst case scenarios and prepare contingency strategies as well, because this funding for 3 months, 90 days is quite huge, and the risks are also quite huge. So you need to begin to sit down and look at what are the risks that we might face, and how do we navigate through these particular risks. What are the contingency plans that we are going to be able to put in place to ensure that we handle this particular risk. Then monitor policy changes as well. Yeah, so you need to stay up to date on the USAID policies and engage, in terms of advocacy efforts and all those issues. You need to be monitoring all the, what is happening. You need to stay up to date, to monitor what is happening, and to be able to help you navigate through. Then document project impact as well. So as that is in force and is going on, you need to ensure that you gather enough evidence of the project's success and impact to justify funding reinstatement, because definitely they want to know if this money is being used for in a noble way, or it's not being used in a noble way. So for you to be able to say, okay, fine, we can have an exception, we can have something, a special consideration, the question that will be asked is, what is it that you have done? What is it that you are doing? Why should you be able to reinstate the fund to you than the other partners? So you need to begin to look at it from that holistic picture as a project manager, and ensure that you put everything in place, and that way you'll be able to run your organizations or your projects sustainably and without without running so much into a deeper, into deeper risks or deeper trouble, as it were. Thank you so much. This was your host, Richard Mumbi, and I'm always grateful to hear from you. I'm always grateful for your subscription to the channel. Those of you that have not subscribed to the channel, please do so, and ensure that you are always kept updated on what is happening and every broadcast that we share with you. I'm so grateful, and thank you very much. Have a lovely day.